Hello YouTube and welcome to a buzzed, maybe a little drunk moto vlog. This is for a viewer, Carry On, what is his name? Carry On 621. Oh! I'm looking at my other screen instead of paying attention to where I'm going. That's not good. So the topic of this video is the California Superbike School, and is it worth it for you? This is my second take. My first take had no sound from iRacing, and it was just creepy as fuck. And we're not gonna be doing that. Because here we go. Is the California Superbike School worth it for me? At this point, I would say kind of no, because I don't really have the money for it at this time. I had the money for it when I did it. But spending all that money at one go again is kind of out of the question for me. So that's the first question you really have to ask yourself. Can I afford to spend the $2,000 to $3,000 to make this worth it? So the second question you have to ask yourself is, what do you want to do with your knowledge from the school? Are you a track day rider? Are you getting into track days? Are you getting into, say, amateur racing? Are you getting into carving canyons on the street? Or are you trying to just be a safer street rider? So those four options, I would say the California Superbike School can provide you a benefit to all of them. You can be a better track day rider, you can be a better amateur racer, you can be a better canyon carver, and you can be just a better street rider from the knowledge that you're gaining at the California Superbike School. Excuse me while I drink a beer. Drinking and driving. It's not good. But, hey, it's a video game. It's the way it goes. Anyways. What is the California Superbike School going to teach you? That's the big question, right? What are you going to get out of it? So, their main lessons revolve around finding the racing line, having good throttle control, having good braking control, and using the steering of your motorcycle effectively. Okay? So I think if you watched my California Superbike School video, which you obviously did, you'll see the X's on the track. They put little tape X's onto the racetrack to help you find the line. Those tape X's help significantly in finding the racing line. You want to basically run them over with your motorcycle, and if you do, you're on the racing line. Being on the racing line affords you the greatest amount of leeway when it comes to making a mistake. Going into a corner too hot, too slow, steering too much, steering too little, using too much braking, using too little braking, etc. So next is your throttle control. Excuse me. The big thing about throttle control is your throttle rule number 1 that they teach you, in the Twist of the Wrist Volume 2 video. Once the throttle is applied, it is applied smoothly and evenly throughout the duration of the turn. This is a big thing that they're going to beat into your head. You need to try to do this every single time that you're at the California Superbike School. And hell, you need to try to do this every single time you ride your motorcycle. But it's especially true when you do the camera bike. They're gonna scrutinize that footage, and they're gonna go over it with you, and they're gonna make you feel like a real dumbass if you're not following their rules. And it's for good reason. Now, another thing about throttle is never, ever add throttle and lean angle at the same time. That's basically rule number 0 and 1 for the California Superbike School. Never, ever add throttle and lean angle at the same time. Because doing that is the biggest reason you're going to crash. Basically, as you add steering input on a car, you want to subtract throttle. And as you retract steering input or reduce your steering input, you want to put on more throttle. That's true on a motorcycle, and it's true in a car like this, a Skip Barber race car. So number 3 is your steering. Oh my god. Number 3 is your braking, actually. So this one is tough for me to explain because I'm still not very good at it. But the idea for braking is you want to trail brake. And so what that means is you brake and turn at the same time. You brake hard in a straight line, and then as you let off, and then as you start turning into the corner, you start slowly letting off the brakes. And as you increase your steering angle on the motorcycle, you decrease your level of braking. It's tough. You got the fear, man. As a motorcycle rider, you have the fear of going into a corner too hot, and that really affects your braking. We'll see it here. I did a little bit of trail braking. Yeah, not very good though. Maybe we'll see it here. I overbroke, but just to illustrate the point. Use your brakes and your steering at the same time. It gives you power steering. You've got all that weight over the front of the motorcycle, and it gives you better steering. So finally, the last thing is steering. And the key to steering is pretty straightforward. Use one motion per corner. I think if you were watching my steering wheel at the bottom left corner, watch my steering wheel at the bottom left corner for the next few turns, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So as you can see there, I used one steering input per corner. Now, braking into turn 3, I kind of had to correct the car a little bit, but that's a different story. But like in this turn here, in, out, 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 out. Very smooth, very controlled. Same with these corners. In, out, in, out. Now I kind of fucked that up, don't get me wrong, but that's something you really want to work on with the California Superbike School. One steering motion per corner. So when you get all these 3 things together, throttle rule number 1, trail braking, one steering motion per corner, you start to feel like a real badass on the motorcycle. Now, are you a badass? No, you're slow. The coaches will embarrass you. Dylan Code will embarrass you. Oh my god, I saw Dylan Code trail braking into a turn, skipping the rear wheel, sliding, backing it in. It was nuts. Stuff I'll probably never ever be able to do in my life. But at the same time, being able to see people who are truly fast on the same track as you is a very humbling experience. And that actually leads me to, is this going to be worth it for you? Are you willing to be humbled? Are you willing to know that you're not all that? That you're, you know, a beginner of beginners. Excuse me. That's what really matters. You need to take this shit super seriously if you're going to go to the California Superbike School. So if you're still listening to this video, I commend you. Thank you so much for supporting me. And thank you so much for actually giving a shit about what I have to say. So if you do give a shit about what I have to say, and you think the California Superbike School is right for you, continue listening. Now, if you think after everything I've said that the California Superbike School isn't for you, then I actually don't disagree. Depending on the kind of riding you're trying to do and the kind of... You know what, let me get into this. The California Superbike School versus track days. What you're paying for when it comes to the California Superbike School versus track days. So the big thing you're paying for is the ability to show up and ride. When you do your own track days, you have to have all your own equipment. That means your own helmet, your own set of leathers, your own gloves, your own boots, and, most importantly, your own motherfucking motorcycle. Okay? Now, what does it mean to have your own motorcycle? You need something that's going to pass tech. So you need a motorcycle in very good working order, with a lot of meat on your good tires, good brake pads, good chain, and just an all-around decent bike. Now, if you don't have that, you're not going to be able to do track days. Here's another big thing. The California Superbike School has insurance. If you bin their bike and totally fuck it up and destroy it, you're only going to be out an extra $2,500. If you've totally fuck up and bin your own personal S1000RR, that's that. You're not going to come back with insurance. You're just going to come back with a total loss. So these are things you have to think about. What is safer? You know, if you're trying to do a track day with a minimal amount of risk, the California Superbike School is definitely for you. If you're willing to accept risk, or if you're willing to run a cheap bike, like an old R6 or CBR 600RR, you know, ZX6R or Gixxer 600, or perhaps even something along the lines of like an SV650 or a 300 or 250 bike, like an R3 or a Ninja 250. Maybe the California Superbike School is not for you. Maybe what you should do is a shitload of track days on your 250. When you do track days, get out there and talk to your coaches, okay? That's a big thing. They're not gonna come to you. You need to come to them. Get out there, find those coaches in the paddock and talk to them. Anyways, back on topic. If you want to do a track day with minimal risk, California Superbike School, yeah, it's a pretty penny, but it's basically the lowest risk. You're putting up about $5,000 tops worth of risk versus, you know, up to $20,000 or more taking your badass motorcycle out on the track. People can and do crash their beautiful superbikes on these racetracks, okay? Now, your chances of crashing, if you follow the lessons of the California Superbike School and you concentrate as hard as you can and you do your best job that you can, you're probably not going to crash. You're going to take it easy and you're going to not crash. Now, if you don't take the California Superbike School like a class and you kind of screw around, your chances of crashing are much higher. So anyways, is the California Superbike School worth it for you? Well, that's something I can't answer. I've tried to go over all the points. You know, it's worth it for you if. It's not worth it for you if. So if you're still listening, if you think the school is worth it for you, then I'm going to finish up with a little bit of a preparation for you. So step 1, get your ass on Amazon. Order the materials. You're spending so much money on the class. Spend the $50 to get the materials. The materials are the book, Twist of the Wrist Volume 2, and the movie, Twist of the Wrist Volume 2. Get the book. It's not that long. Get the movie. Read the book once with a highlighter and highlight. Read the book again and highlight again. Read the book a third time, except this time just read your highlights. Basically what I mean is get that shit in your head. Once you've got that book in your head, watch the movie. Watch the movie once, watch the movie twice, watch the movie 3 times. Once you're done watching the movie, read the book again. Okay? Get it in your head. If you do that, you'll have the best chance of success. Maximize your chance of success. You're spending a shitload of money to do this. Okay? So really do everything you can to maximize your chance of success. Now, once you've read the book a bunch, once you've watched the movie a bunch, go out there and practice. Practice in a parking lot. Practice practice in a parking lot. Practice on your favorite twisty road. Hell, practice on your favorite straight road. Do what you have to do to learn that motorcycle. And finally, have a good time out there. VIR is a tough track, and depending on what track you do, you're going to have a tough time or an easy time. Well, you're going to have a tough time no matter what. But depending on what track you do, you're going to have an easier time or a tougher time. So anyways, this is a 16-minute and 30-second video so far. Have a great night. Thanks for listening. I would say this. If you're trying to become a better rider and you have the money, do the California Superbike School. It's the safest way to do a track day financially. Yeah, you're putting out you're putting up $2,500 cash, and you're putting up another $2,500 in potential insurance if you do crash the bike. But that's so much cheaper than crashing a brand new BMW S1000RR. It's just so much cheaper. So have a great night and think about your riding.